this new South Side Leisure Center. I mean, I don't know a lot about it. It suddenly pops up during an election year. What a coincidence.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch, brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home. Kirby Shafer joins us now, another one of the people who is seeking a seat on Medicine Hat City Council. Welcome, Kirby.
Thank you very much.
Why?
I worked for the city for 30 years in electric distribution. I'm retired now since 2021. I've followed city council and the city. I mean, I was born, raised, grew up here. All my roots are here. I'm passionate about the city, and I keep up to date. And this last term especially, it's just been, steadily worse since, I would say, about 2015. And it's just, gotten steadily worse. I felt that rather than be an armchair quarterback, I think I have some solutions. I think I have some ideas that could possibly help and alleviate a lot of the problems that we're facing today.
So rather than being a keyboard warrior, you decided to step into the fire.
Yeah, on Facebook, a gentleman said that. He spoke up to everybody and said, you guys all seem so smart. Why don't you run for council? Quit being an armchair quarterback. And I thought to myself, I'm not one to go on social media and badmouth what's going on because I don't know all the details behind it, the hidden details like that they're not disclosing. So it's easy to sit back and criticize, but once you have all the information, it may change your opinion, right?
From your observations of the last 4 years, what would you have done differently if you'd have been on that council?
Well, the last 4 years really haven't been any different since, like I say, 2015. That's about the time when we started Financially Fit. It wasn't a program. To me, we should be financially fit every day. We should be using that model every day. It should be not a catchphrase. That program was brought in because the city's spending and costs were skyrocketing. And so we had to try and get control of it. Unfortunately, not everybody bought in. Some people were saving money. Some people were spending it like we printed it in City Hall. That leaves you in the same place. You're not gaining anything. Then it came to accelerated Financially Fit, which meant it was more critical to get this under control. And then 2021 hit. And that's when D-Day hit, and they did a reorg, had to cut, and they cut.
So your biggest issue would be spending at City Hall?
They need to get a real control on their spending. We need to get back to a needs versus wants. It's great to have everything you want, but we need to look after our needs, our infrastructure, our assets, our most valuable commodity, which is our utilities, electric and gas. We need to ensure that those are upgraded, maintained, and looked after so that, roads, parks, water, sewer, all of our needs are looked after. Once those are looked after and they're run efficiently, and you have strategic thinkers in there that will give you accurate budgets. When I was doing budgets, we used to do a 5-year budget, which I'd like to see us get back to. It's hard to give forecasted budgets just because the economy the way it is and inflation, but it gives you a sense of what is needed in terms of upgrades. Do we need a new sewer lift station? Do we need new water lines? Do we need new roads? A new turbine at the power plant? It gives us time to plan for those rather than surprise. Here's a huge cost this year. Taxes are going up this much, right? But we not only did we do that, but we also created budgets that had 5, 10, and 15% rollbacks. What does that look like for your department, right? Does it affect services? Are there cuts that are going to have to be made in terms of job losses and stuff? What does that look like? so that when times are tough, we had a plan to fall back on. We had something that we could adapt to. And it was a lot of work at the start, but it's not a lot of work to maintain.
So what happened to that plan?
That plan ended probably, like I say, around 2015. That all happened prior to. We had some great people in great position, like in the big positions in the city of Medicine Hat, and they had the foresight to come up with these plans, because at that time, 2010, we had a business manager who he was one business manager. He set our rates. He created our COSAs for cost of service agreements. And he basically said in 2010, natural gas is going to be $2 a gigajoule until at least 2020. He's not wrong. It's still $2 a gigajoule. He was a very smart man. And we had another gentleman at the power plant who looked after our rates, or after our selling to the grid, the price of the grid. Now we have a whole department that replaced these two people. I don't even know how many people are employed in that department. I would say 6 or 7 to do two people's jobs. And now we want to form a rate review committee to guide these people. Like it's just gotten out of hand. So
a little bit too top heavy, in your opinion?
Top and middle, for sure.
Okay.
The city hasn't, since 2015, the city was 63,000 people. Today, the city's 63,000 people. Why did our staffing rates go up from 1,100 employees to 1,500 employees, approximately? Mm-hmm. If the city hasn't grown, why do we need all these extra people? And it's just, there's a lot of your costs right there.
Andy McGrogan, when he was visiting with us here on the porch, he suggested that perhaps they need to do a line-by-line budget review every year. Your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. You need to, when admin brings the budget, I know when we did budgets, we had to be specific as to what that money was earmarked for. It's not just a generic term and, here it is, accept it. If that means a tax increase, so be it. That's not acceptable. In this community, there's a lot of people that are just scraping by, making ends meet, and they can't afford that kind of change in their life. Those huge tax increases. They want to see value for their money. What are we spending it on? Medicine Hat is, according to Alberta Municipal Affairs and Alberta Job and Labor Statistics, Medicine Hat is ranked number 1 in municipalities per person that live there. So, we're spending $7,000 per person for 63,000 people. The second place city is like $3,000 less than us.
Is that because we also operate our own utilities? Does that muddy that calculation little bit?
It does muddy it a little bit because we do own our own power plant. And so those costs do get put on there. But like I say, even if you were to subtract those, we'd still be up there. Like it's not every day you buy a $50 million turbine. It's not every day you're spending millions and millions to upgrade. If you're on top of things, if you have a good strategic plan where we know what our assets are, we know the life of those assets, and when they're due to be replaced, you can plan for those for the future. That's what reserves are for. Reserves aren't to dip in because you're out of money and you go, well, how are we going to pay for that? We'll just dip in reserves. Well, pretty soon those reserves are gone, and you get a massive water main break like Calgary had this year. That's what those reserves are for. It's those emergency reserves, right? Not, oh, hey, I've got some money, let's spend it.
Not a slush fund.
Not a slush fund, for your wants. This new Southside Leisure Center, I don't know a lot about it. It suddenly pops up during an election year. What a coincidence. I'm a detailed person. I need a lot of information to make sure that the decision I'm making with not my money, but taxpayers' money, is the proper thing to do. It's adding value to the community. It's needed because the Big Marble is overcrowded. You can't swim in the pool because it's full. then maybe we need something, right? But I don't even know the numbers that are using Big Marble. Is it making money? Is it losing money? If it's losing money, why would we need another one to lose money? We can't support the one we have now. So you got to almost have a common sense, strategic. You don't have to be an industry leader. You just have to have strategic thinking, no different than you do in your own life.
So nice to have versus need to have.
Right.
Okay. When you're looking at budgets and you're talking about cutting expenses, and you know this from personal experience, that sometimes means people lose their jobs. Do you lose track of that when you're going through the budget and thinking this is going to mean that some people won't be here?
Of course you're going to lose sleep over it. It's someone's livelihood, right? Everybody has stresses in their life, and that's the last thing you need stress from. When I got hired on the city, people always said to me, we've never had layoffs. Don't worry about it. We've never had layoffs, and that's nice to have when you have that, behind you. But I also know a lot of our managers, they used to say, like, show me a work plan. Like, show me how many work hours we have this year, and then show me the work hours available for the employees that we employ. If we don't have enough employee hours, then we need to hire. And when we hire, are they sustainable? Or is this just a one-off? Can we maybe get a contractor to do it? Because if we hire these people, that work may not be there in the future. And I don't want to be the guy that tells somebody they lost their job, So they were very strategic thinkers back then. They thought of all those things, and is there another way we can get this done without hiring employees? They would love to hire employees, but they want to sustain them. They don't want people standing around not doing anything, and it's a waste of money, right? Mm-hmm. They used to call it jerseys. They said it's like a hockey team. We had so many jerseys, right? And that's it. Like, until you prove to me we need more jerseys, and that's with a solid work plan that shows that this is sustainable work and it's valuable work, you're not getting another jersey.
From your life experience in the electric distribution area, I'm sure you have some thoughts on the MCC, Municipally Controlled Corporation, that would perhaps take over the burden of looking after utilities from City Council.
Well, when I first heard of the MCC, I know some people within the city. I reached out to them and I asked them tough questions. I said, like, why are we forming this? What is the benefit for me? You're asking me as a taxpayer to invest $2.1 million plus $300 and some thousand annually, to keep this running. What's the value for me? I do that in my own life. If I'm going to make an investment, what's my return on investment, right? How is this benefiting me? And I could not get a clear answer. I could not get a clear answer that convinced me this was the route to go. And so I'm not going to be a conspiracy theorist. Certain people are getting kickbacks at everything you hear on Facebook and stuff. I'm not going to be a mudslinger that way. But to this day, I still don't know, other than what I heard at council. And when Rochelle Pancoast said, it would be nice to have industry leaders that we can bounce ideas off of and ensure that we're going in the right direction. How did we sustain an electric utility over 100 years? Are you saying we've never had industry leaders? Did we not replace people with industry leaders? And if we haven't, maybe we should. Certain positions, they pay well as it is. If I top that up a little bit to attract an industry leader to run our energy division or work in our energy division as an industry leader, that's a lot less money than $2.1 million to start a board that you can't prove to me we need.
Do you have any political ideology? Would you paint yourself as a blue conservative or a red liberal or NDP, or are you an independent thinker?
I'm right in the middle. I see positives to every party. I see negatives to every party. I'm not devoted to one party. I think politics has gotten to the point where you're the official opposition. So that means you disagree with me even if I have a good idea. It's so convoluted now and so messed up. As the official opposition, you need to work with me, and I'll listen to you. You listen to me. I mean, you tell me shortfalls. You tell me, how to fix them. I'll gladly take it that way. But that's considered weakness, and we could lose the election. It's all about winning and losing. It's not about what's best for the country, what's best for the city.
Paul Harvey used to say that the next election begins the morning after the last one ended.
Exactly.
Career politicians.
Exactly.
Utility rates, that's something else that people have been sort of upset with over the last couple of years, led to a special interest group getting involved. Where do you think they're going to go?
Well, utility rates, they're pretty much market. I mean, they're market-based. It's a commodity, right? In order to generate a megawatt of electricity, you need natural gas, right? And natural gas is a commodity. So it fluctuates. It's volatile. Utility rates, again, if we get back to a needs versus wants and we get our house in order for our critical infrastructure, we don't have to, and I heard this at a council meeting as well, we need to generate more revenue, and raising utility rates over and above an acceptable rate of how much you're making it for is not an acceptable way to generate revenue. That's not the right thing to do, right? So clear, accurate messaging saying we used to set our rates as they'd pick the top 5 utilities in Alberta, and we were always in the middle. We were median. It was simple, right? You look at what everybody else is charging, and we're in the middle. There's your advantage, right? Now, if the city made some revenue from that or extra revenue from that, you knew that was going in reserves, or it should go in reserves, and not just, I've got some extra cash, hey, we can buy some more stuff, that we don't necessarily need. So if you, like I say, you get your house in order and get that needs versus wants, get an accurate budget. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm lowering taxes, I'm lowering utility rates. I can't promise that. I don't have a crystal ball. I need all the information and then, tally it all up and say, here's what we need from taxpayers in order to sustain a well-run community. And when you have a well-run community, industry will invest in that. You want to bring industry here? I'll give you an example. I used this online to a gentleman. I said, back when I first started with the city, we were the number 1 reliable electric utility in Canada. I sat on Canadian Electrical Association committees, and they envied us for what we had as a monopoly. We're exempt from a lot of the taxes. We're exempt from a lot of the regulations, like others have to deal with, right? They envied us for what we had. I can't believe we even would consider getting rid of what we have. You know what I mean? And so I posed the question to them. It used to be a council mandate that we were number 1, right? Or at least in the top 5 in Canada of all the utilities, big players and everybody, right? That fell by the wayside. When I retired in 2021, we weren't in the top 10. I'm embarrassed to tell you where we were. Mm-hmm. Now, as a business, if our economic development went out to a big conference with all the major businesses looking to expand, and you had ammunition in your gun that said, hey, I can use this to attract business. You know what? Business wants reliable power. Business doesn't want to have outages. Do you realize we're the number 1 reliable utility in Canada?
Get their attention.
It would definitely get their attention, but we have lost sight of that. We've lost sight of those things, and it's unfortunate.
You just mentioned economic development. That is another way that you can increase your revenues so that maybe you can pay for some of the things that you want to spend money on. Mm-hmm. As a member of the Medicine City Council, what role would you play in that?
No, I think the chamber, all of our economic development at the city, they should all be working in unison together and sharing information, sharing ideas. We can't lose sight of the businesses we have. We need to help them sustain and stay open. But we also need to attract, I mean, any kind of business, whether it's small business, I've heard small business, medium business, industrial, but no one's I wouldn't invest as a business owner if I'm being schmoozed by the city of Medicine Hat, gee, didn't I read about you in the paper? Your council's fighting with each other. Oh, and didn't I hear that you guys are, kind of got a debt problem? Didn't you go through a massive reorg? They're going to do their homework on you if they're going to invest in your community, right? So you got to get your house in order first. And that's why I say it all comes down to starting with peel the onion, right? I want better transit, right? Well, you increase service, you're going to increase costs. Costs come from somewhere, right? Not saying the transit doesn't need to be looked at, right? Housing, everything, affordability, you name anything, it comes down to costs. And if we don't have our costs under control, we're just going deeper and deeper in debt.
And another one that I wanted to get your opinion on, because of your background in electrical distribution, is the solar project, Samus Solar Project. Boondoggle or investment in the future?
I'm not fully convinced. That I haven't seen enough proof that electric and wind can sustain our power needs. Can it subsidize it and help it out? Yeah, it probably could. Was the Samus idea, in theory, without seeing any data or facts? I haven't been privy to that. Was it a good idea on paper, in conception? Yeah, it's something to look at. But do you invest in it and then hire a consultant to see if that investment was the proper thing to do? Probably not the right order. So, again, lack of strategic thinking. Let's get a little bit more strategic here and go, is this adding value? What's this look like in terms of taxes going up, right? Is it sustainable? What's the lifespan of it? How long is it going to last before we have to do upgrades? Or is this thing going to, the one up by the water slide, I mean, that was a test project. People talk about that still to this day, the huge failure that it was. It was a test project between a number of parties, and the city of Medicine Hat was one of them. We took a chance. It wasn't a significant amount of money in terms of hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not like you're building an event center, but it was a gamble. And at that time, we had the money that, it's a gamble, and if it worked, we would have taken it over. Unfortunately, yeah, it never worked. And I don't think they did enough research into it. There was a lot of failures that I think they could have saw.
One of the most valuable pieces of currency we have right now in Medicine Hat is the ballot. I have 8 pieces of currency. Why should I invest one of those in Kirby Shafer?
Well, I'm like I say, I'm a very detailed thinker. I don't just, an idea comes up and you throw money at it. You got a problem? Throw money at it. I'm not that type of person. I'm going to ask the tough questions. I'm going to question, and if somebody says you're delving into administration, your governance, I'll find a way to get my question through. If we want to play those kind of games where we're not working together, administration and council have to work together. They really do. It's hand in hand. I'm trusting the information you're giving me. You're trusting the decision I'm making is the best for the community, right? We have to work together. I shouldn't have to ask a lot of tough questions if there is that kind of playing field, happening type of thing. So ask me a question, like I was telling you, I'll give you an answer to it. I'll give you my honest opinion on it. There's been some tough ones on Facebook, and I've answered them, and I've answered them honestly, and I don't have kickback from them where somebody insults you. You know what I mean? I'm going to give you an honest answer. I'm not going to sugarcoat it because I know that's what you want to hear. And I'm definitely going to ensure that public money, like I did when I worked for the city, that's not my funds. So it's someone else's. I'm doing an investment for them, and I need to ensure that I've covered all my bases, or as many as I can, before I make a educated, strategic decision.
Kirby Shafer, candidate for Medicine Hat City Councilor on October 20th. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Brian.